Good morning, everybody. Man, it's been a minute. It's been a minute. I'm assuming you can hear me. I have a test stream on my phone just to make sure that it's actually working properly. So I'm gonna go ahead and refer to that real quick. Don't mind me. Excellent. I think it sounds pretty good too. It's been a minute since I've been on here. I've had a busy couple weeks. If you guys don't know, I am a master's student in school. That's time consuming. That long time with my full-time job. And this is what I really enjoy doing. So I really try to make time to engage in Dice Anvil and engage with the community. But I've been lacking in that the last couple weeks. It's been just really busy. But I promise I'm trying to get back into the swing of things. If you notice my eyes are red, don't worry about it. I have not been crying. I'm getting over some kind of sickness or something, and I wore contacts that were bad. I don't know, but I promise I'm not crying. Oh man. Okay, so let me go ahead and talk about what we're talking about today. I'm gonna try to make sure. Let me see. All right. I want to make sure people can see the chat as well. There you go. I really appreciate everybody last stream that engaged in the chat, because that makes all the difference with me talking about what I'm talking about. Because I do want your input, you know? This is, if you're confused what the stream is, Dice Anvil was created for people to have opportunity to influence with their creative ideas how a TTRPG is made, and for your ideas to be heard, and for feedback to be provided, and for maybe this channel, maybe even this game that I'm working on, to be the vehicle in which ideas can be shared and provided to the public. And as of now, I've already completed the alpha version of this game I'm working on called Trichotomist, but I'm making a lot of changes right now, so it's not too late to influence what I'm doing. I had a lot of success last stream. I think that was like, I don't know, 2-3 weeks ago. And we talked about, literally on the spot, we invented a dice system that I want to dive more into. I've ran some tests, and I'm excited to show you guys what I've been coming up with. So as you can see, I'm using Canva here. So this is pretty much the notes. I for the most part left them pretty untouched, except I did change some things. So if you don't know, if you weren't here for last stream, here's what it was about. We're trying to come up with a dice system, a resolution system for skill checks and stuff like that for a TTRPG that would be exciting, and not all be left up to chance. And I came up, well, me alongside the people that were commenting, came up with the idea. Twin Steel was huge on that. Yep, happy to see you, brother. And he was helping me come up with this idea of a D10 system that basically you have opportunities to re-roll that D10, and you're trying to, so it's kind of chance here. It's almost like a gambling-esque feel whenever you're rolling to resolve an issue or make a skill check, because hey, there's a chance you might get higher than your last roll, but you gotta keep the very last roll that you roll. So let's do an example real quick. And I've played this out a couple times, so I feel confident. I have a D10 here, and I'll make sure to be honest with how I go. Here's kind of the resolution system that I've come up with over the last few weeks. As you can see here, D10, you roll D10 and can re-roll, but you must keep the last roll. If you roll 1 through 3, that's your final roll, you fail. Yeah, appreciate it. If you roll 4 through 6, you fail with a twist. Now, here's the thing. There are a lot of systems that do stuff like this, and I know some people aren't particularly fond of them. It doesn't need to be super dramatic, right? If you fail with a twist, or if you roll a 7 through 9 and succeed with a twist, it doesn't need to be, you know, groundbreaking or like Oscar-worthy kind of twist, all right? It can literally just be, maybe you don't succeed as much as you would, or maybe you don't fail as much as you normally would, stuff like that. But I think the opportunity to drive the narrative forward with the dice rolls can be really good, and it's hard to do in a D20 system. It's hard to tell like exactly when that would happen, but this really opens a doorway, allowing the GM and the player to come up with narrative momentum when it comes to making simple rolls. And if you roll a 10, you pass maybe even near impossible checks. And this was actually Twin Steel's idea. You get a free chance to re-roll for a chance to get a crit. So if you roll two tens in a row, you have a critical success, which can mean like something insane in the story happens. We're still working on the parameters of what that would really mean, because really it's a 1 in 100 chance, like a 1% chance you can roll a crit in this game, but that should really amplify the feelings if you get a D10, if you get a 10, because all of a sudden it's not a 1% chance, it's like a 10% chance, right? It's a 1 in 10 chance that you get a crit right here. So I don't know, let's see. So like I said, we're gonna go ahead and do an example. Let's say, let me go ahead and show you guys what the character sheet's gonna look like, most likely. All right, I think my next video I'm gonna work on is actually gonna be about character sheets, so don't expect this to be the final results, but this is kind of what we're gonna work with just for this live here. This is kind of what it's gonna look like. We got everything else in Trichotomous. We got body, mind, soul, and we got the power, agility, knowledge, instinct, harmony, and passion underneath those. Let's say I'm trying to kick down a door, easy peasy. Or actually, no, let's say I'm trying to maybe break into a door with by lock picking. That's a better one. That would be a you could call that an agility, or actually no, that would be an instinct roll right here, right? Because you're really trying to focus, trying to hear the clicks of whatever they use to pick locks. And so I think that takes precision, which is what instinct is for. So we're gonna go ahead and go roll for instinct. So you might see here you got these little things right here. This one's already filled out, which means you can roll once. Of course you can roll a d10 once, like that's your one roll. But let's say that this was also filled in. That means you can roll your d10 twice, essentially having a reroll opportunity. And if you have all three filled in, then you get the idea. You get to reroll 2 times. You have 3 rolls to get the highest roll you possibly can, which it used to be these count for every reroll you have, but honestly I wasn't a huge fan of that, just because one, it's kind of confusing. You're like, oh, every circle's a reroll, and also I don't think you should inherently have the ability to reroll, because that's a pretty big deal, especially when you're using a D10. And I think that there's still an element I want there to be of a little bit of chance. If you only have 1 in instinct, let's say you're not very you're just not very insightful of the world, you're not very aware, your character's not good at instinct, well then they have to go with their first roll, of the D10. But my character has 2 slots filled up, so let me go ahead and put that bad in there. So I go ahead and roll my first roll here. I got a 1, so I'm definitely gonna want to re-roll that. If you had a run with a 1, you could say that the tools that you're using broke, maybe. All right, so let me go ahead and re-roll. I got an 8 that time. So let's go ahead and refer back to our chart here and see what that would do. So an 8 is success with a twist. All right, so it could be success, but with a slightly bad repercussion. The narrative is driven forward in a way, because be honest, saying that you just pick the lock is good, gets the job done, and you can do that here. You can just say, oh yeah, it's a pretty easy lock to pick, you just do it and move forward. But if we were to add some kind of twist, some kind of narrative focus, let's say you do it, but it takes a little bit longer than you expect, the guards are right on your tail, you're able to open the door, you swing it open, but you're gonna have to make another check to close it without them being able to push through the door. Keeps the game exciting, and so rewards the player for making a pretty decent roll there. Okay, so if you have any thoughts, let me know what you think about that. It's a simple system, and I think you'll get the point across here of my priorities of a TTRPG, which is narrative. Um, Matt Colville made a video talking about, okay, what's a good mechanic? Well, a good mechanic is one that pushes forward the feeling you're trying to invoke with your TTRPG. And the feeling I'm trying to invoke, I've officially decided, is not combat, and particularly is not, you know, intense social interactions. It's driving like a story forward, and every aspect, I want every aspect of the mechanics that we have to be written down, or like, and still make a compelling story, even though you're writing down pretty much just the mechanics of the game, right? And this is going to really show in my ideas I have for conditions, which is the next part we're going to be talking about today. Conditions are something that are, or this is what I'm torn on, guys. Let me go ahead and do this. So before I talked about how HP and AC should be combined, I think that should be true for, you know, things that you fight. Twin Steel says, I like the goal of mechanics to drive the story forward. Yeah, I do think that, like, if I were to make a TTRPG and make the mechanics work together, because that's something I did not do with the alpha version of Trichotomies. I just kind of made up mechanics and shoved it into an idea. And as we talked about in prior lives and prior videos, even check out my my vibe video if you want me to rant a little bit about that. But I didn't really focus on a particular feeling of that game, and I'd like it if these mechanics could cater to that. So we'll see. Again, Matt Colville gets the credit for that idea there. So I'm gonna keep the ace. So when it comes to HP, I'm gonna keep this idea that we came up with last time of when you're fighting something, as you damage it, it becomes easier to hit, or as they become weaker and weaker, obviously it's easier and easier for you and your team to fight this thing. And as we talked about last time, as its HP and AC go down, they maybe do other more frantic abilities. They're desperate, right? I'm trying to think of, I think it's the Marvel RPG. There are certain abilities that are only unlocked or allowed when the character is near death. Why? Well, I think they have a quote in there referring to Superman, saying Superman only uses the max of his strength when he's in a desperate situation, which makes total sense, and it really amplifies the narrative of the story. Of course, when your back is against the wall, when you're cornered, when you think you're gonna go down, you're gonna throw everything you got, even things that you wouldn't normally use in a fight, things that might be more lethal, you're gonna be throwing. So when you're fighting, this young dragon or whatever, when you have them backed in a corner and they feel like they're gonna die, they're gonna use everything they can to try to survive, and that includes the deadliest moves that they have in their arsenal. So that's an idea we're gonna use, and we'll talk about combat later. That's a monster that I'm I'm trying to figure out how to tackle here. So you can expect that later. But right now, we're talking about just the dice system in general, and let's talk about the conditions. I'm trying to decide whether or not I want this to just replace HP in general, but we'll see. Still says, been pondering how to make some abilities only appealing to players only when in dire straits. Yeah, if that's also a tough one, because I don't know if you're gonna have this apply to players too. That's the thing though, Twin. I don't know because if I'm a player and I have this really good ability, I don't care if my back's up against the wall or not. I'm gonna be using that like in the beginning of the fight. So that might be like a thing reserved just for, or I guess prioritized in like targets or like monsters that you might fight. But yeah. So, but there are certain things like whenever I think of a crap. I'm trying to think. I know there's a mechanic out there that's like, And I've made a mechanic before that was like, hey, you can deal X damage, and X is equal to the damage you've received. Like a desperation, like a barbaric almost, yeah, like instinct when like you're hurt and you can use that health deduction that you've accumulated to deal more damage, which is a really cool idea. People like to go Nova early on. Yeah, that's true. And I've been wondering how to encourage them to hold that holding back scenario. You can make that a mechanic, I suppose, like being like almost like a charge kind of thing. You know, like as the fight goes on, the more rounds you go, the more powerful you can be in this certain ability. Um, you can do that in a certain magic system that I'm working on for this game. That basically you can spend time to breathe in and store more energy, and that would incentivize them to be holding back throughout the fight, and then eventually release it, because when they release it, it's going to be bigger if they hold it back longer. Does that make sense? So that could incentivize big. Oh, 100%. The thing is though, is that going to be applicable to all, you know, all classes, all abilities? Not necessarily. But maybe the special ones, the ones that maybe are a little more OP, you know, maybe if you have a fireball-esque ability, maybe it'd be more beneficial if you hold on to it longer before using it. I like when I tell players that I don't do X before the end of the round. That if they don't do X, before the end of the round, the idea is that they pull all the stops. But in many games, like D&D, there are no stops to pull. Yeah, that's true. Yeah. I really appreciate this input, by the way. I know it's, for a lot of people, it's stressful. I guess being the only one in a stream, but dude, you're awesome. But yeah, 100%. Yeah, D&D and like other games don't really cater to that very well, but yeah, that's really good. I didn't know you're a GM as well. Kurt, that's awesome. A charge up like you suggest could work possibly. And you know that could incentivize. Big deal. I just don't know if it can happen throughout, you know, across the board for like just combat mechanics in general. I don't know how that would work. I don't know how clean that would be, but man, let's I'll definitely keep that in mind. That's a valuable mechanic. Absolutely. Okay. So let's pivot a little bit and talk about conditions. You know, what happens when you are hurt? I recently kind of dove into I follow J-Face Games, but I was thinking about this before then, and he recently he recently looked at a mechanic that's presented by Avatar: Last Airbender RPG, which is a game that I think is so cool. Haven't personally played it myself, but I've almost bought it many times because I love it. If I would have grown up with Airbender, I would have definitely had it 6 months ago. Mm-hmm. Nice. Oh, really? Nice. Twin Steel says, yeah, I play about mostly. Yeah, he mostly DMs, and he does some development too, with Nimble, for example. Really? I didn't know that, because I know of Nimble. That's a big deal, dude. Heck yeah. Well, I'm gonna take. Well, I got gold in my comments right now, helping me out with this game, and I appreciate that. You could officially say you've helped with the development of Trichonomus one day, if we can get it on the shelves or something, you know. But that's not the point of what I'm doing, you know. I'm just trying to create something, and get people's ideas on how to do it, really. Because Lord knows I would have loved something like that. I would have loved something like that when I was making stuff. You know, no, very kind of you, good sir. But anyway, as I was saying, in that game, in Avatar: The Last Airbender, RPG, they have a system. I can actually pull it up real quick. Avatar: The Last Airbender character sheets. Let me whip this bad boy up, so we can all look at it together. Okay. Here we go. Okay, so I don't want any cookies. Thank you very much, though. Okay, so obviously they got the cool stuff like the balance and stuff, and this is not the official one right here, but yes, I love talking about game design. It's so much fun, dude. So much fun. But this is a cool game design idea here. Oh, dude, it's so cool. Okay, so here are the conditions, right? Afraid, angry, guilty, insecure, troubled. By the way, these are excellent conditions, right? Because they really, really prioritize pushing forward, not just what's happening to your character. You're not just prone, you're guilty, right? It's like internal conflict, which makes sense for this game because it's all about balance and having your character act off of, I guess, their nature and stuff like that, which is so cool. But I was thinking, the one thing I thought was really cool about this is not only does your condition affect, I guess, certain roles, but it has a requirement for how to clear that condition. So if you're afraid, you get -2 in Intimidate and Call Someone Out, which is an ability they have. But in order to clear it, in order to get rid of your afraid condition, you have to run from danger or difficulty. So cool. That means you literally act on your condition in order to clear it. So, you don't just long rest. You have to literally move forward with the condition. You have to move forward with the condition that you have, which is actually awesome. And you have to, in a way, you're not healing from it. Well, you are healing from it. You're clearing it, but you're clearing it by falling under what it requires of you. So if you're angry, you break something important or lash out at a friend, and then it would be clear. You'd no longer be angry, but it would affect the game. It'd affect the dynamics of the party. That is so good. And there's some other stuff in here too. Obviously, I'm not going to, just take everything from Avatar: The Last Airbender, but I am going to implement a similar mechanic. Again, I've thought about, conditions and like how that would work for a while now, and seeing this has given me the courage to be like, okay, let's actually mess with this. So you don't got to worry about most of this, but I just wanted to show you guys. Oh, this looks horrible. Get this out of here. I just wanted to show you guys this. Let me go ahead and just copy that. Wow. Okay. Okay, let me go back to our notes. Okay, so these are the list of possible conditions that I thought of, and please let me know if you come up with anything else that's cool. Okay, so obviously Trichotomous is about the trichotomy of the mind, body, soul. So I thought of, let's do that. Let's do conditions. Let's try it out. But it's going to be 3 different types, right? So this is body, mind, soul. So if certain things happen to your body, you can become broken. You can think of like a broken limb or something like that, crippled. Maybe you have to limp for until you get healing, or bleeding. And that's obviously if you just start bleeding. I don't know about that. Body has been one that I've been really struggling with to figure out exactly how to do. So that's kind of these are all just theoretical right now. For mind, we got paranoid, disoriented, and delusional, right? And I'm trying to cover like a wide variety of different things. If maybe you fail an investigation roll, bad enough, or something happens bad enough to your mind that you become paranoid, right? You start to be overly anxious, overly analytical in things that maybe aren't completely relevant, and you can let that drive your character forward. Or maybe you're delusional, right? Something happens, you believe the incorrect thing, or you become, these aren't like steps like to become more and more severe. Don't think of it like that. Think of it as different avenues you can take. What I would like to do is during gameplay, and something happens, and I say, you have to take a mind condition. The player can then choose what condition they think would be, 1, better for their their character, and two, make sense in the moment. I want that to be in the player's hands um because honestly, I want the player to have as much control as possible over the narrative of their game. So I think that'd be cool. And then in Soul, we got afraid, ashamed, and angry. Again, angry is one that's already inside of this. Um, I like broken most. It could mean multiple things. Exactly. A bone, you said, but also there's sort of a giving up vibe too. Maybe spiritual. I like it nonetheless. Yeah, that's true. Other physical ones, I mean. Yeah, I also agree. That's the kind of thing I want to do here. Is I want it to be, I guess, broad enough that the character or the player can take that and kind of do whatever they want. And really push forward the narrative they want for their character. So, yeah, you can have like your femur can break, sure, but you can also like fall to your knees and just maybe just not want to move because you're shattered. You feel exhausted to the point when you're broken. You can also do it with crippled if you want, you know? It's kind of a word you can base that off of. So what happens when you get a condition? Let's talk mechanically. Conditions. This looks, oh, I don't like that. Let's make that normal. And I'm gonna make this bigger. Sorry, I should. Okay. Conditions, make rolls in that, rolls -1 in. Reminds me of how Bane broke the bat. yeah. Because not necessarily it's not just he broke his back, like he broke his pride in that moment. He maybe broke his worldview. Because, man, if I was a vigilante and a Russian guy broke my back the way he did, you better believe I'd be crawling into hiding or whatever, you know. By the way, like my cup, it's a Morning Handsome. Thank you, cup. So there's a bit I always do in my videos when I just pretend like I'm one insecure and like asking you guys to say that I'm a handsome boy. I don't know why I keep doing that. Two, so yeah. Hey, Kaylin the alien, how you doing? But yeah, I promise I'm not actually insecure or needing you guys to approve of me. It never goes unwanted, I guess. I just think it's funny for some reason, and maybe that says something about myself. Oh wow, greetings Earthlings. Wow, okay, well, tell us about from a unique perspective on what we're doing here, from an alien. Appreciate you. Always good to start the day with a little ego boost. Yeah, everyone needs an ego boost every now and then. You know, a little good morning handsome. My lovely wife, she got us matching ones. Good morning, handsome. Good morning, beautiful. And you know, it's adorable. I can't even lie. I'm not a live, laugh, love kind of guy, but I'm just gonna say it. I like those mugs. Yeah, it's crazy you got an extraterrestrial up in here, dude. That's crazy. Okay, so all right. So what we're saying, I was in the middle of typing, I believe, trying to figure out what even to say here. When in rolls, oh, conditions make, okay, rolls, don't look, yes, I can't spell, don't say anything. Okay, conditions make appropriate rolls -1, which in a D10 system, that's a big deal, right? So let's say you are broken, right? Let me get an X, give me an X, thank you. That's a little big. Okay, so let's say you are broken, right? You check that bad boy off, you're now broken. Bada bing. Let's say you do break your leg or something, right? You do break your arm. So next time you make a roll that obviously requires an arm, you're gonna be -1. Now, here's the thing that I'm trying to figure out now. These are obviously body, mind, soul. categories, right? If your arm is broken, would that affect other things? Like, let's say you're trying to make an instinct roll to pick a lock. Well, if your arm is broken, should that make a -1 happen to that? You know? Yes. Yeah. Hey, let me know if the audio is good, better on this one. I've been told that. Can you guys hear me pretty well, I guess, right now? I thought I could. Yes, because the audio last streams were horrible. Dude, 15 minutes before, like, I'm not sure if you guys noticed, but I made a post saying, like, I'm going live in 30 minutes. That was originally 15 because I could not figure out how to get my stream working. I couldn't do it. I'm not even that old, but I felt like an elderly person in that moment because I just could not do it. Let's see. I do find this one a little quiet. I have my volume at max. Oh crap. Well, then in that case, let me go ahead and turn myself up just a little bit here. 1 2 1 2. How's that? Better? I don't think I'm 1 2 1 2. Okay. This might be a little too loud. I gave you a warning beforehand. but yeah, that's where we are. Okay. It's good now. Thank you, Keelan the Alien. I appreciate you. Okay. So, yeah, just let me know if this is better or worse or whatever you want. Because obviously I'm still super new to live streams and they honestly freak me out a lot because you can edit or you can record whatever you want in regular videos. And this is just kind of like, yeah, you get what you get. That's a little better for me. I'm not rocking with the best headphones. Yeah. I would definitely suggest these bad boys. These are the Sony something. I don't know. Whatever. Okay, so what do you guys think here? Do you guys think that, I guess, if my arm is broken, should it affect, like, if I have something that's a condition that falls under my body conditions, right? Like maybe my arm is broken or maybe blah blah blah, whatever. X, Y, and Z is under body category. Should it affect things when I roll for mind? Part of me wants to keep them separate, but I guess it doesn't necessarily. Like, this could go either way, because here's the thing. That's the thing we're trying to figure out right now. But as of now, let's just pretend like it's not. Let's say that something happens to you in some way, you become paranoid. Well, now when you roll like a knowledge check, or or you're rolling for instinct to try to focus on something, you have to -1 to a roll for mind, right? So I just rolled a 7, but guess what? That's going down to a 6, thus making me fail with a twist instead of succeed with a twist, right? So immediately you're seeing the results, and the player has the opportunity to attribute their condition to why it's a worse roll, right? So I don't know. It could be good. You can say, like, I'm trying to pick the lock, but because I'm paranoid, I'm distracted because I'm looking around. I'm thinking, oh no, they're gonna get us or something's gonna happen. Blah blah blah. You're paranoid, and that made me break my focus, thus making me fail with a twist instead of succeed with a twist. I don't know if that makes any sense. We got some comments here. Are you foregoing things like charisma in exchange to encourage role playing? Or is passion like the replacement? That's a good question, and yeah, let me explain that real quick. So, soul is gonna be the overall, I guess, part of yourself that has to do with your interaction with the world, right? I've broken up charisma into 2 different types: harmony and passion, because I believe charisma itself is really, it encompasses a lot, right, about a character. Like, if you have high charisma, but are you just really good are you scary, so you're good at intimidating people? Well, if that's the case, then you shouldn't be good at charming people. Well, if you're just a charming guy, why are you so good at blah, blah, blah? This really opens the doorway for, also, if you're interacting with a guard, or something, are you gonna try to roll for passion to try to like force them or like make them feel inferior so that they let you through the gates, or you're gonna roll harmony to try to befriend them maybe, and you're better at either one. So it really kind of pushes for your character to have a I guess more personalized type of charisma. But it doesn't just happen with charisma. You can apply your soul to pretty much all types of magic that happens here. Maybe there's a part of you that like needs to calm down. You're trying to really calm someone down or help them get out of like a panicked state. That's a harmony roll. Harmony is like you're trying to connect to your surroundings and maybe become more sympathetic. Paranoia might damage harmony. That's true. Yeah, so it's very applicable, I feel. I don't know. Twin Steel says, oh, okay. Are you seeing this game as mind, body, spirit, separate, or more that they're connected? I'm seeing them as... That's a good question. That is the question, right? When it comes to conditions, should it affect other aspects, I guess? Should something in the body affect the mind? I think they... In this game, I suppose they should be... I don't know. That could inform my answer. Man, we're talking about philosophy now. Philosophy live stream real quick. Yeah, I think that a part of them should be a little intertwined. Like, maybe you have high power because you're a big buff guy, and that might be an influence. That might influence the player to prioritize passion over harmony because they're a big menacing figure. Yeah, so, something to ponder. I'm pondering hard right now, dude. Don't worry. Oh man, so we're pondering. I don't know. I think that they should be intertwined as they are. I think the way I'm able to think, my mind influences the way I interact with the outside world, thus affecting my soul aspect. And I think that the way I present myself, thus my body, would also affect my priorities for mind and soul. I don't know. That's a question that, frankly, I did not think I was going to have to, I guess, think about when making this game. But you're right. That's something that should be taken into account when coming up with mechanics, because mechanics are just that, right? And like I said before, it should always push forward the way you're trying to make the players in your game feel. And I think I do want them to feel like these parts of themselves are different, but they are connected. Given that, let's go ahead and, for now, decide that conditions should be able to affect all appropriate rolls. That means it goes across pretty much all different aspects. If you have a mind condition, but hey, you're rolling a body roll that might be affected by you being crippled or you being bleeding, that should affect that, right? Okay. Let me know if you like that. Again, I'm gonna be working on this in the future. This is kind of what I've been coming up with recently. Let's see. And like I said before, there are going to be certain ways, certain actions you have to take in order to clear a condition. If you're paranoid, you have to act on that paranoia. You have to investigate something at the sacrifice or at the, affecting the group in maybe a negative way to try to alleviate yourself of this paranoia, certain things. If you're afraid, just like in the Avatar: Last Airbender TTRPG, you have to run away or escape that situation that's making you afraid. And once you're out of there, then you can be cleared and thus not have that -1 from your afraid condition. I don't know. Maybe you could have a more severe impact on the associated feature, body to broke. Oh yeah, and a more minor one on others. That is a good idea. That is why these streams are so important. Because we got to think about like a D10 system. My immediate thought was, what if it's -2 conditions? What if it's -2 -2 on what if it's -2 on the one that it's under? Like if you're, if you have a broken leg, you have a -2 on rolls, body rolls, but everything else that could be affected by that is a -1. That's a big deal. That's a big deal because if we're referring to this, that not only makes it impossible to get a 10, which honestly I think is a fair trade. Like I don't think you should be able to make a critical success. If you're trying to jump across a chasm with a broken leg. Yeah, but yeah. So, but it literally makes your chances of staying within a success with a twist like super low. If you roll a 10, you're still barely making it. If with -2. I don't know. Well, we'll have to do some tests on that to see how that works. But I'm gonna keep that for now because yeah, that combined with the whole success with a twist or fail with a twist really just works together, because you can easily say, let's say you have a -2, you have a broken leg, you try to jump across, or you try to jump across something, but because of that -2, you fail with a twist, right? So you don't make it, but the twist could be like you like have a single arm that's on there and you're falling down actively, right? It's so easy to like literally write that out as if it's a book and have like that attributed to his broken leg, right? It's awesome. Big fan. You guys can tell I'm pretty excited about, I guess, this mechanic system because it reinforces that feeling. Oh man. Well, that's all I really have time for today, everybody. Thank you guys so much for joining this live stream. Thank you guys so much for watching this in the future, and helping me make this TTRPG. Let me go ahead and get on my face here. Good deal. But yeah, as always, I appreciate you guys. Thank you for being a good Nat 1 like myself, one of the good ones. Hope you guys have an excellent rest of your weekend. Let me just go ahead and die real quick. Hope you guys have an excellent rest of your weekend and have a excellent day. Good stuff. Appreciate you guys as always. I'll be seeing you guys later. Adios.